I'll accept the motion on the agenda, moved by Councillor Stoyles, seconded by Councillor Tessier. No other additions to my knowledge. All those in favour? Aye. Contrary minded, motion carried. First item today would be the Public Council meeting of September 6th. A motion to accept the minutes is presented. Moved by Councillor Walsh, seconded by Councillor Aker. Are there in these minutes any errors or omissions? Errors or omissions to be noted in the minutes of September 6, 2011? Hearing none. Call the question. All those in favour? Contrary minded, motion is carried. Business arising then from the meeting of September 6th. Any business arising?
I have one, Your Worship.
Deputy Mayor Locke.
Number 599.
599.
With respect to the traffic calmer in the school zones.
Yep.
And this came up in relation to the speeding along Ruth Avenue in particular. And I'm just curious if there was anything looked into that, if any of the committees had a chance to look into that. We discussed it further at our Planning and Land Use Development meeting. And one of the suggestions was maybe, I think it was Councillor Tessier mentioned these digital signs. If you could have, and I don't know if we can do it, where if people are breaking the speed limit, we take a picture of their license plate. And I still think if we set the speed limit at a certain speed limit, it's say 20 kilometers an hour, between 8:15 in the morning and 9:15 in the morning, when you got 2,000 kiddies trying to get to that zone in the city, and then go back to the normal speed of 50 kilometers an hour during the rest of the day, do the same thing at lunchtime, when again you got 2,000, 2,500 students that are leaving the building going to eat their lunch, and then a similar thing after school, because again, I had a couple of my students actually express concern about the level of speed. They were walkers to school. The level of speed along Ruth Avenue during the busy times of the day. So I think that's an issue that needs to be addressed, and I just throw that out there as an option. I don't know if we can investigate that to see if that's something that we could implement, but we need something to slow down the drivers in the school zones, and we got to look at some options to do that. So I don't know if anything.
Yep.
Councillor Walsh.
Well, again, thank you very much, Deputy Mayor Locke, for the reminder. We did, of course, as you know, allocate the traffic calmers to the various school zones. They were moved around and probably are still out, I'm not sure, but they were out well before the events of school opening. Mm-hmm. And the idea was to move in the general locations. I think there were 3 separate locations in the school zones. Of course, Ruth Avenue is a location of 3 major schools, and that was a very high priority in terms of the placement of the calmers. We have a meeting tomorrow, actually, and so it'll be in tomorrow's agenda that we'll explore in some greater detail, and it'll probably be some weeks, if not even a month or a couple of months, Deputy Mayor, before we get some information and data compiled on that, because I think what you were looking for was going forward and you know, what we could do to try to minimize speed and to calm traffic in the areas of schools. So we'll have a look and keep you updated on that.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Any other business arising? Anything? Business arising from the meeting of September 6th? Okay. Hearing none, we will move along. Council, we have some presentations we're going to make today, and we also have a proclamation today. The first thing we'll do is the proclamation. I want to read this into the record. This has been an event that we proclaim each year, and we have now for, I don't really know how many, 18 something. Is it 18, Kelly? It's over 20, and over 20 years now that we've been participating in this particular campaign, and we're going to do so today. I'm going to ask Egg Walters if he'd come up here with me. Egg, I'm going to read this into the record, and then I'm going to sign it, and I'm going to ask you to come up and take this little microphone right here, which is a fancy jobby, and tell us a little bit about your plans for the week coming. So we'll read first the proclamation into the record. Whereas hunger is recognized as a major problem in our society, and whereas food banks are under ever-increasing pressure to meet the need for healthy food for the less fortunate, and whereas the St. John's Transportation Commission through Metrobus and the VOCM Cares Foundation have joined forces to help food banks meet this need. Now, therefore, I, Mayor Randy Sims, declare the week of October 2nd to 8th as Metrobus VOCM Cares Thanksgiving Food Drive Week in the city of Mount Pearl, and on behalf of Council, will urge citizens to give generously to this worthy cause. I am going to affix my signature to that And Mr. Walters, if you would, I'd ask you to tell council about the plans for the food drive this year.
Well, I think, first of all, I'd like to thank you and all your councillors for such support over, I guess, the last 20 years. It's been tremendous. And through Metrobus and VOCM Cares, all of the schools in the areas will be collecting food for the food bank. And Mr. Food Bank man himself down there, Ed Grushy with Metrobus, has been around for a long time, and he'll be out in the bus collecting through the schools. And food that's collected will not only go to Mount Pearl Food Banks and St. John's Food Banks, but food banks as far north as Happy Valley, Goose Bay, and Nain. So, thank you so much. It's always been a pleasure to come here. And then your other hack with VOCM Cares, please extend our appreciation to all the crowd at VOCM for all the hard work.
They're down there looking at you. As far as I know, Kelly Reed and Jackie Dolomont. Here, Ed, before you leave, let's do this. We got to take a picture. Come around. You're allowed to come up, guys. Come up, guys. Ed Grushy from Metrobus, come up. Kelly, come up. Jackie won't come up, of course. She's way too shy to do that.
Ed is really shy.
Rebecca, you want to come up?
Want to come up with your dad?
Come up too.
No?
Come on.
There we go. And everybody smile at one of these cameras here.
Should have the theme music from Jeopardy playing or something.
One last shot. One last. I'm going to say you got to get this done.
Got it?
Thank you.
Perfect.
Thank you. Thank you, Ed. All the best, buddy. Take care. So I wonder in 20 years how many tons of food have they collected?
Ooh, that's a lot of growth.
Last year was 20 tons.
I have a question. Do you see an increase in donations over the years now?
First, when I got involved, we would go to open Metrobus with a pickup truck and fill up the back of the pickup truck.
Mm-hmm.
And that was 18, 19 years ago for me. 19 years ago.
Yeah.
And now several buses come in and several vans come in, and they're all absolutely, totally blocked with food. So
It's fantastic.
It is a big success, the Thanksgiving food drive.
Public awareness, and through the city of Mount Pearl and all the councillors, and especially food bank man himself, he does a great job. Thanks so much.
Thanks, guys, very much. Appreciate it. I'm going to invite Monica Stork, who's with our staff, to come up here with me. Hi, Monica. We're going to try and organize a presentation here now as best we can. Council, as many of you, well, not as many of you, all of you, I think it is fair to say you are aware that Mount Pearl partnered with the Conservation Corps of Newfoundland and Labrador on a joint project this summer focused on really the physical cleanup of the Waterford River in our city and raising awareness and stewardship really of the river system within the community. For 7 weeks, through the month of July and August, we had in our employ a 4-member green team who worked to clean up the river. They mapped out where large items of debris were located in the river that they themselves couldn't remove for later removal, some of which is now gone, I know, and others that Public Works are working on. They engaged the general public as well in a number of environmental awareness events, and they partnered with a number of community organizations such as the Mount Pearl Youth Action Team, Northeast Avalon ACAP. A detailed report, in fact, on this summer's Green Team program will come forward through the Planning and Land Use Committee a little later. One of the environmental awareness events that got held by the Green Team and by the city as a part of this activity was a cleanup blitz of the Waterford River, and it involved and engaged both our business community and members of the public in our community. And this afternoon, what we're going to try and do, as woefully and as inadequate as it will be, we want to try and acknowledge those businesses that actually participated and took time out of their schedules to assist with the business blitz. It actually happened on Friday, August the 5th, 2011, and it won't be a surprise for anyone to know that in the summer of 2011, the only thing it really did was rain. And on August 5th, 2011, it was, guess what? yet another rainy day in the summer of 2011. It did not discourage those who participated. The event turned out to be a huge success. Some 30 volunteers came out with representatives from a bunch of companies, and we're going to name a few of them here today. FI Canada Oilfield Services, Industrial Rubber, Scotiabank, Tiller Engineering, representatives from the Mount Pearl Paradise Chamber of Commerce, plus our green teams, a number of city employees. It was notable that Industrial Rubber actually sent the majority of their employees out to the cleanup, and then they hosted a barbecue for all of the employees following the event. So it was a pretty good job all the way around. And to have community-minded businesses jump on board an idea like this and put both their sweat equity and sometimes their money into it, it's something that we really appreciate. And we wanted to offer a sincere thank you to all of those who assisted in this worthy cause. So on that rainy day in August, the volunteers collected over 100 bags of garbage along the river. And I realize that we are all impressed with that. That's a tremendous amount of work for a small group of people to have done. That it was possible to find 100 bags of garbage on the banks of the Waterford River in Mount Pearl is, quite frankly, very sad. And it's only, I think,
just one section. It was
and that was one section of the river. So I guess it goes to show there's a lot of work that needs to be done. But it did bring about an immediate visual improvement of the river. And of course, when you can get garbage out of the river, you also make the environment of the river, the ecology, that much more healthy. We have a number of certificates of appreciation for the businesses that took part. We have some individual certificates of appreciation for the individual volunteers who participated as well. I want to invite representatives of the companies who are here that have joined us today and ask them to come forward when you're called. And we're going to do that up right here. And we're going to get your picture taken. All right? So we'll try this. Monica, come around the front. You think that's best?
You should take it on the microphone if you need to call.
I'll do that too. Ever the educator.
Always thinking. Thinking high speed all the time.
Ever the teacher. Ever the teacher. Okay, Monica, let's do it. All right. First from Industrial Rubber, we have Representative Alan Barnes here and Randy Russell. We want you to come forward, guys. Trust with some real pride. Randy, that's for you. Thank you, sir, very much. And this one, Daniel over here, that's for him. And guys, get close here and smile. Thank you. Next year we're gonna do it again, right?
Monica, get in.
Move in the picture. Yeah,
Oh, Monica's got to do it as well.
Picture, Monica.
Okay, one more.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
The other company that we have represented here today is Scotiabank, long time partner with the city of Mount Pearl on everything from buildings to barbecues and even cleaning up the Waterford River. So we want to offer Scotiabank, ask them to please come forward, the representatives we have here with us today. We've got Gary Neal here with us today. Gary is the manager right across the street from us over here. With us this afternoon. Gary Gorman as well, who's the manager from, where are you located now?
Small business cross street.
Are you here? You're both from this branch here. You were, but you weren't here. You were at the other branch.
2 years ago.
Okay. And this one here is for Trudy Chambers, who obviously was not able to join us today. So, Gary, And the other we had here for the Chamber of Commerce, they're not present this afternoon, but we'll see to it that they get their certificates of appreciation as well as FI Canada and Tiller Engineering. They all did outstanding work, and we want to thank them very much for that. Anybody with a comment on anything so far up to now? Councillor Tessier?
I was just going to comment on the cleanup, Your Worship. There was another day as well where we cleaned up another portion of the river.
Yep.
I know that Councillor Stoyles and I were there at about the same time, and I know other members of council came as well. It was like a couple of hour duration. And it was astounding, the amount of garbage and the type of garbage that we saw. Car wrecks.
Oh, we got
I
everything.
mean, it's unbelievable. And appliances and sinks and really, really bizarre stuff that people are throwing out, and they're not disposing of it properly. And what a difference it makes when it's cleaned up. It looks so much better. It's just beautiful. So anyway, I commend everybody who comes out to help out in any effort like this, and I think that it's really important that in the future we try to prevent it altogether. You know, I mean, the need should not be there. But anyway, it's wonderful to have everybody involved.
It is. It is one of the things to note, and I pass this along for council's consideration. I think we've all heard the discussion over the last couple of weeks with the issue surrounding illegal dumping. It is happening in areas that are substantially more rural than ours, at a level and a pace and a degree that's quite frankly frightening. We're getting our fair share of illegal dumping. We have substantial punishment, if you would, for being caught, dropping things in our environment. We do not have the level of enforcement measures put in place, and I think we're going to have to talk about that as a city and as a community, about what to do here. And for waste management, our new waste management system is being blamed by some as a culprit, as one of the causes, that the cost of taking, for example, construction materials to our waste management site is triple what it used to be. And that there are contractors out there who actually see the cost of dumping X number of tons of construction material in our landfill as being a real loss center for them. And so they say, well, I've got 14 tons of whatever left over here that I don't need, and if I can find a place to dump it, I won't pay $60 a ton to dump it at the landfill. And we have that kind of thing going on at the commercial level, as well as the fact that you have individuals who are doing things that I don't understand, because we get to dump in the landfill for free. So, it's only that people won't take the time to actually get their stuff to the landfill itself that's the problem. So, an education piece, I think, and a little notification that we're going to actively crack down at some point, and we're going to have to look at how we're going to do that. And I don't know what area it will fall into, be it Public Works or Community Services, but I think as a city we have to be aware of it. It is I'm proud of the people that go out and do the work and clean it up. I'm rather ashamed that there's a whole bunch of people out there willing to go dirty it up in the first place. That's our biggest problem, And this is a beautiful urban river that we, the city of St. John's, the town of Paradise, and I don't know how many others, have the joy of sharing. There's not a lot of urban centers in the world that actually have a living, breathing, freshwater river running through the heart of their community that houses habitat and life.
It's right behind my house.
We should be doing everything we can to protect it. We're going to do more than we have. We know that much. Anyway, anybody else with a comment? Deputy Mayor, if you would.
We mentioned this under the Green Team initiative, but I just want to acknowledge the staff that took this on. I know Monica was up here presenting the awards,
yes,
and
absolutely.
she really took this on. And I know there was a lot of city staff behind the scene that dove right into this and did all the coordinating of the organization. So I just want to take the opportunity, in addition to thanking our corporate sponsors and friends that came out to clean up, I'd also like to acknowledge again Monica and the other staff that and Julia that really took this on and brought it to fruition. So on behalf of the city, thank you guys so much.
Job well done.
Okay.
Thank you guys very much. Any other comment? Hearing none, we're going to move on. We are up to committee reports. The first one today will be our Public Works Committee. I want to, just before we do that, can I make note of the empty seat?
Absolutely.
Just very quickly, one of our colleagues missing right now, that is Councillor Paul Lane, who will be out of the system here, possibly for good. But certainly he has up to now submitted that he is on a leave of absence until after the provincial election, as of course he is running in the district of Mount Pearl South. So one of the others here, my colleagues, will take on some of the role today on his behalf. But we're going to start with Public Works. Councillor Tessier, if you would.
Talking about cleaning up and reducing our contribution to the landfill, we are going to embark on a pilot project for leaf composting in Mount Pearl. And you can see now up on the screens there that we've got a copy of the flyer that's going to be distributed to the residents. During the weeks of October 17th to November 4th, residents are going to be provided with the opportunity to dispose of their garden leaves by placing them to the curb next to their regular household garbage. There's a few differences here. They have to be placed in clear recycling bags. Our cleanup crews will have no idea if they're in regular household garbage bags. Will have no idea that they are leaves, and they will end up in the landfill. However, if they're in clear recyclable bags, then they'll be taken care of and disposed of properly. So that's a very important thing to be aware of. Also, we're going to be sending this information out, and I think along with a few sample bags to residents as well to encourage this. Right now, the cost savings is, there is some cost savings, but they're not excessive at this point because we've had to advertise and put some measures in place so that our residents are aware. However, the cost savings potential for the future use of this, if it's successful, and I hope that it is, the cost savings stand to be significant. Plus, 600 tons of waste will be diverted from the landfill and I guess it'll be used for compost. So that's the most important part. So
I've looked at it all, Councillor Tessier, and I think it's a brilliant idea.
It is.
But can I ask a question?
Certainly.
Does it have to be the clear bag?
Yes.
And I say that only because at my house, the orange bags that you can buy at this time of year are pretty special around the 31st of October, and they get used. And I'm wondering, are we going to allow that at all?
The problem is you can't see through it. You don't know what's in there. And we're not doing an extra pickup for this. This is going to be done on the same day as your regular household garbage. So if our garbage collectors are going to have to try to decipher what is household garbage and what is not, it's going to slow it down, and that's certainly going to add to the cost.
What size is the clear bag? Because the orange
they're pretty big.
garden bag is really, really big. Are these clear ones really, really big, or are they like the clear ones we use for recycling paper? In which case, I'm going to have 26 of them for you.
Quite likely. They're quite like, yeah. But, I wonder, do residents have the option, if they want to use the large orange bags, do they have the option of dropping them off themselves at the compost facility? Is that an option, Mr. Lush?
I guess the bags are just regular clear bags. The problem is that we're not trying to put on an extra collection. So
Yeah,
yeah. For a 70-30 split, so they're limited on the size of the bag. They can't get the bag in the truck if the bag is too big. So if this works and the pilot goes on well, next year we can look at having a special collection on Mondays and things. But right now this is a pilot, it's a regular size bag, and it's because we use a co-mingles. So we're not adding any extra collection costs. So
Okay, all right.
Your Worship, that was-
Councillor Stoyles?
You made the same comment as I was going to make, because I really don't think we do enough education on this for our residents. I get more calls, a lot of calls about people getting tickets and that because they don't have the garbage in the right type of bag. And I know we send out the letters, and I know we do some education, but people who've lived in the city for 30 and 40 and 50 years put their garbage out, and they think that because it's not garbage, they think if they put it in a green bag, and Halloween is coming, and it's going to be a prime example. I know everybody I know goes out and buys the bag with the big Halloween on them to use for the leaves, and because they're big and they're cheap and they're great to use, that's what a lot of people are going to be using. And I'm glad to see us doing this pilot project, but I think we have to do more education because I think the people need to know exactly what we're doing. And I know we can mention here in the public chamber, and we can do some send-outs, mail-outs and that, but I think we got to go that step further and spend some more money and do more education on programs like this when we're doing it, because people are just not aware. And like I said, I've spoken to people who've lived in Mount Pearl for years, and they still think that if they put certain things in bags and that, and there's no garbage in them, that they still don't think that they're doing anything wrong. I had a lady call me last night, and she got a ticket just a couple of days ago, and she said, I've lived here for 35 years, and never ever had a problem. And I really think we have a problem. Until we start doing it right and correcting it, I personally don't agree with the ticket that we've been given out, and I still think we really got to have another look at it, because it's a major problem, because I think we've given out over 180 tickets today, and I think...
Today or to date?
No, to date. Over 180 tickets.
I'm going to say,
to
good
date.
Lord.
To date. And I said, we received a lot of complaints, and I have major concerns with it.
Yeah, I've received complaints for getting tickets too. I'm the one complaining when I get tickets. Councillor Aker.
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship. Just a quick question. Every resident in the city will be provided with 4 clear plastic bags.
Yes.
And that'll
That's my
be
understanding. Yes.
that will be distributed when the flyer goes out, I guess,
Yes.
through the mail.
Yes.
If I live in a house and I don't have a lot of leaves, am I able to use those 4 bags for recycling? Like
Sure.
paper?
Sure.
That won't be a problem, right? You know what I mean?
No.
I'm sure the question's going to come up. My final question again is, where is the composting center? Where, if you did rake your leaves on a Sunday and you wanted to drop it off Monday morning,
I don't know
is
if
it
we
at the
can.
city depot or
Are we allowed to drop it off?
no?
Private. We're into a partnership with a private contractor, a landscaping contractor, and they're going to turn them into compost. So you
Okay,
can't
so
drop
we're,
it off the
the
That's
city
good.
will be taking it to their location when they pick it up. Is that
Right, we
the-
pay a $10 tipping fee to the private contractor to turn them into compost rather than the $65 tipping fee of the landfill.
Okay, thank you.
So it's a $55 saving per ton.
Be careful on the clear bags too. We use blue bags for recycling.
Yeah.
Okay,
I just want to, Your Worship. if I
thank
could-
you. Once again, back to
I gotta-
Deputy Mayor.
Well, I got a call at
Locke.
lunchtime
Start
today
over.
regarding the, it just came to mind as Councillor Stolz was mentioning there about the education process. And this lady also, received a ticket. She had paid it, but, she was in the city, she said, for 31 or 32 years, and she put her grass clippings out and her leaves out, and as she always had done. She said, I received the pamphlet from the city, and it said you must cover all household garbage. And she said, I never considered my grass clippings as household garbage. So I don't know if that's something we can look at with the information that's being sent out to the residents. And I explained to her the reason why, because our operators, as Councillor Tessier said, don't have the time to tear open the bag to see what is and isn't in it. And she understood that. But again, to her, it was sort of, it was confusing about this household garbage. She wasn't sure actually what that meant. So I basically have just been telling people, anything you put in the dark bag has got to be covered. And your recycling and your paper, put it in a clear bag, put your grass clippings in a clear bag, so our operators will know that if you don't have it under the net, it's legal and legitimate not to be under the net. But again, perhaps that's something we can look at with our next mail out to specify
Well,
exactly.
seeing as we're going to do one now, let's make that part of that mail out. I mean,
This is the
obviously.
education piece right here.
Yeah, that's right. Let's make it part of that mail out. Councillor Tessier, we are
Okay.
going around the shop here, guys.
Well, I guess,
Is there a motion of any kind on
no,
the
this is
table?
just,
No, okay.
This is just for information, but I
General
guess
chit chat.
all of this is actually very good, because it does provide the feedback that we need to make sure that the programs roll out at the end of it, all of it, as successfully as they possibly can. I mean, our recycling program, we changed that over the past year, and we're seeing tremendous success. And I really hope that we see tremendous success with this as well. And everybody's feedback, of course, that comes back to the committee, and it's taken into consideration, as well as the feedback from residents, to make sure that we do have continued success with programs like this.
Thank you very much. We're going to move on now then. Is that it for your committee? That was it for Public Works? Thank you. Community Services, Councillor Walsh, you're on the floor, and I believe Deputy Mayor will be serving as alternate in Mr. Lane's absence.
Thank
Go
you
right ahead,
very
sir.
much, Your Worship. I have to say, make no wonder it's confusing, because we make it about as confusing as we can possibly make it, I think.
Boy, sometimes I got to say, yeah.
But our intention is...
We're all working for
Our
NASA.
intention is entirely different, and we all realize that. Just a few fairly straightforward items, Your Worship. First of all, I just want to inform Council that as a result of our last public council meeting, we did carry through with the planned intention of expanding and extending the park patrol so that we could run it through September on the weekends when the young people are back in school. That seems to have worked very, very well. And I just wanted to bring that forward for the attention of Council. It was something that was brought up in the last meeting. I think it was a good idea. We did have a little bit of money left in our budget for Park Patrol, and so we did extend the program. So we're bringing that forward for information purposes only. The other couple of things, again, fairly routine business. The Newfoundland Police and Peace Officers Memorial Association, each year, Your Worship, they have a service. This year it's on Sunday, the 25th of September, this coming Sunday at 2 o'clock, and it's at the memorial site at Confederation Hill. And again, we're just inviting the members of the public. Obviously, this is to pay tribute to peace officers, police who've given their lives in the line of duty or have suffered adversity. And we'd just like to, and I think more than ever, I think there's more and more consciousness and awareness being brought to that, and the level of, I guess, to which they jeopardize themselves and their personal well-being and health and their families by being put on the line every day. So, just for information. Finally, Your Worship, the Turkey Tea Road Race. It's summertime and we're getting hungry, so this will add to it. This is taking place on October 9th. Ben Dunn does a great job in consultation with Athletics Northeast and the Newfoundland Labrador Athletic Association. We've actually hosted this for many years now. I think it's October 9th is a Sunday, if I'm not mistaken. They run it through the Donovan's Business Park. We already have received a certificate of liability insurance, and we're just seeking permission of council. Actually, we're making a recommendation that we approve the run for again this year and the route that's outlined, and I so move.
Moved by Councillor Walsh, seconded by Deputy Mayor Locke. Questions or comments? All those in favor, contrary-minded, motion's carried.
That's it for me, Your Worship. It was fairly painless.
That was fairly painless. Corporate Services is up next. I believe it's going to be Councillor Tessier,
Back on my feet again.
and Councillor Stoyles will
Just a short,
serve as alternate.
a short report here today. The committee is recommending approval for Deputy Mayor Locke to attend the UMC meetings being held in Gander on September 30th and October 1st. That's Urban Municipalities Committee meetings. Mayor Sims, you're unavailable to attend, so we're seeking approval for Deputy Mayor Locke to attend in your stead, and I so move.
Moved, seconded. All those in favor, contrary-minded, motion carried.
And now we have the invoices to be approved for payment, listed items 1 through 12. One thing, since we've gone paper-free, we don't have that little orange sheet of paper anymore that we have sometimes
We're getting
with
close to budget
amendments.
time. It'll come back.
That's right. And they're totaling $995,586.10, and I so move.
You're only about $4,500 short of $1 million, is it?
That's all.
Comment, Your Worship, please.
Councillor Walsh.
I just want to note that item 12 there is something that council have been working on for quite some time. We had some issues with the clearing of the cul-de-sacs last year and the practices and all related to workplace health and safety and some of the things that we could and couldn't do. That particular contract is spending in excess of $250,000 for the purchase of reversible blades for our plows for the wintertime. That should help correct that, particularly in the cul-de-sac areas, and this is a decision that was made by council. Obviously, it's good news for the people who live on the cul-de-sacs because they've been getting an exorbitant amount of snow, much more than they were used to getting, and this will help alleviate some of that.
That will turn that back around to what we'll call normal.
What about one-way streets as well?
Yeah, we'll help with that as well.
It helps spread it so on
Yeah.
each side.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect.
Good stuff.
Excellent.
We'll call the question. All those in favor, contrary-minded, motion carried.
That's it for that.
We are up to Economic Development, Communication, Tourism. Councillor Stoyles.
Thank you, Your Worship. We do have a couple of items. The first one we have is we received a letter from H.J. Bartlett Senior Blades hockey team requesting for us to become a gold sponsor for the amount of $5,000. And our planning department and our economic development department did a lot of work in this and looked at what was happening within the whole province actually, and what towns and communities do with their senior hockey teams. And of course we'd like to see Mount Pearl having our own senior hockey team, as most of us attended a lot of games last year when they were doing quite well, and we certainly want to come out and support. But unfortunately, of course, we have our own board of managements, and we didn't feel that we would interfere with them and offering them a sponsorship in giving them free ice time or anything, because the board of management looks after that. But we are recommending entering into a partnership with the senior hockey team in the amount of $5,000, and we will be working that out through the Economic Development Department. And once the partnership is in place, there will be a copy of it available, I'm sure, for anybody that's interested in seeing it. And today I'm recommending that we will give $5,000 subsidy to the H.J. Bartlett Senior Blades, and I so move.
Moved, seconded by Deputy Mayor Locke. Any question or comments?
Just a comment, Your Worship.
Deputy Mayor.
To indicate that, the discussion around the table as to whether or not to proceed with this was it was sort of in alignment with our proposed economic development strategy and our thinking and our emphasis on sport tourism. And when you look at the benefits that the Mount Pearl Senior Blades bring to the community in terms of the hockey moms, the hockey dads, the sales that take place up at the Glacier Arena during their games. A portion of the ticket sales, is back to the arena board management. So there's significant economic spin-off from this. We rallied around the community, rallied around the Senior Blades last year during the playoffs. We had huge turnouts at the rink, and this is just, again, a part of our strategy, economic development strategy, and of course it certainly benefits the community much beyond the $5,000 partnership that we're proposing here.
Thank you. Any other question or comment? Hearing none, we'll call it. All those in favor? Contrary-minded? Motion is carried.
Next item, Your Worship, we want to highlight the new businesses that opened from June on, and there's 22 of them there listed, and from home-based business to Eastern Health and Dr. Trudy Medcalf. Just wanted to highlight them. This is something we're going to be doing on a regular basis, having them, a record to let the public know what businesses have opened within the city, and this is just for information only.
So there have been, 23 since July?
22.
June 28th?
22.
There have been 22 businesses.
22 we have listed.
That's good.
Still growing.
Hmm?
The next item also, Your Worship, is, I guess, for information only, and it concerns our Chamber of Commerce. And of course, the Chamber have been ongoing for over 25 years in the city of Mount Pearl, and at September 12th, they had a big announcement with a name change and a new logo. They had their strategic plan, and they had some help from Atlantic Canada Opportunity Agency and Rural Trade and Development. And in conjunction with the plan and the business plan, they decided to have a name change, and that name change and the new logo is the Mount Pearl Paradise Chamber of Commerce. And we just wanted to mention it here today and say hats off to them, and it's great to see them come forward with new initiatives and a new focus, and it's going to be great working with them. Brandon Elwood, one of our staff, has been on the board and has been working with them for the past couple of years, and we wish them well. And that is for information only.
Okay. The Mount Pearl Paradise Chamber of Commerce, comments from anyone on that? I'd like to say that I had the honor of attending the news conference, Councillor Stoyles, and actually speaking on behalf of the city of Mount Pearl to it. We had Mayor Ralph Wiseman there from the town of Paradise as well. One of the things that came up in our discussions that day, and we are going to hopefully pursue it further, is that the town of Paradise and the city of Mount Pearl are eager to enter into some preliminary discussions on joint economic development initiatives within the region that we could partner on, and having a look at those possibilities. Not something we've ever done before. We cooperate on many things in many areas. Usually it's very much in the delivery of efforts to community services. I'm thinking in terms of our animal control, handle some of their animal control issues on their behalf and so on. We work together on things like water and fire, etc. But this is actually going to be an initiative, if we can do it, where we're going to sit down with our economic development people, our CAOs of both communities, both mayors, and talk about areas where we see that economic development retention or expansion would be possible as a joint initiative from the two communities, and see what initiatives out there we can capture. All of that discussion was sprung from the announcement of the expansion, if you would, of the Mount Pearl Chamber of Commerce to include that area of the business district that was already inside, by the way, their jurisdiction. It was already inside the Mount Pearl Chamber's jurisdictional area. So they're signing on to that. I hope a lot of businesses in Paradise jump on the boat and join. I think it's going to be a very positive thing. But now, like I said to Mayor Wiseman, now you know, if you end up with a bigger business group, you're going to end up with a bigger lobby. You know that you're going to get nailed on taxes and budgets, but that's not a bad thing. You know, keeping our feet to the fire is not a bad thing. So I want to pass on congratulations as well, Councillor Stoyles, and I'm stealing a bit of your thunder, to say congratulations to the Chamber of Commerce. And I am looking forward in the next few months, over the course of this winter, of having Paradise and Mount Pearl sit down together to talk about those kind of business initiatives that may exist out there that we should readily be taking advantage of if we can, and doing it together. And that's going to be a really good thing. Anyway, floor back to you. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and that's for information only. And we have one other request, and that is a request from Emily House Museum for a sponsorship. They're going to be hosting the Museums Association of Land Labrador Conference September the 30th to October the 1st, and I'm recommending that $1,000 sponsorship will go to them. This is a convention that they're going to be hosting in Mount Pearl at one of our local hotels, and it's great to see them take on such a great initiative, and we're delighted to be a sponsor. And I so move.
Moved by Councillor Stoyles, seconded by the Deputy Mayor. Question or comment? Anybody? All those in favour? Contrary minded, motion carried.
That's it, Your Worship.
Thank you. We are up to Engineering Services. Councillor Aker.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just a couple of information items today. Just want to inform Council and the public know that the Greenwood Crescent Bridge is being work done as of yesterday. I think Platinum Construction is down there now, beginning the process of dismantling and replacing the bridge. We've got some pictures here, and you can see that this damage was all caused last year by Igor. The bridge is quite old, but of course it stood the test of time. But Igor basically has washed away a lot of the banks and has exposed the rails to the bridge. And
Igor did quite a job, didn't it?
It did, and it made the bridge really unsafe. You can see it's really worn away there. So the plan is between now and November is to basically remove the bridge, replace it with a new one, and as well then to restore the fish habitat too, as well as to plant some trees and that. So Platinum has started that work, and they should be finished around the end of October, and then we'll have our pedestrian walkway reinstated there.
And we're going to get the cost of that's going to be about $170,000.
Yeah, and I suspect it'll be a little bit higher that with the engineering fees, of course, they're on top of that as well, right? Yeah.
When is it ever not a little bit higher?
Yeah. He said that for badness, I think.
I think he did that with a
smirk on his face.
He had to do that with a smirk on his face when he said that.
Guaranteed.
It's always a little, and he knew I'd jump at it like a salmon.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Not one of you gave me a blank stare.
Anyway.
The other item, Your Worship, is...
I'm glad it's happening, though.
Well, yes, of course, we all are glad to see that that's done. I'm told by our Director of Corporate Services, I think to date, we've spent over almost $1 million on Igor, this calendar year, almost $1 million on Igor-related costs that we would not have incurred except for Igor. And all I can say is let's look back at last weekend and thank God that Maria was not
That
near as
Maria
bad
was a
as
kinder,
Igor.
gentler lady.
She was moving a little fast.
She was moving faster.
Yeah, a lot quicker.
But we had did we get any of it back yet? Did we get any recovery money?
Not yet.
We're in line for some, though, aren't we? We think.
In process.
In process.
But the
7
check
years
is
from now.
not in the mail, not yet.
Not in the mail.
Not in the mail.
Next item.
The next item from engineering is an update. This is the first contract package related to the 2011 street upgrading. It covers 4 streets: Donovan Street, Farrell Drive, Woodford Place, and Keogh Crescent.
So we're only actually getting the 2011 now.
We're only getting 2011 now. And,
Okay, it's the middle of September.
we anticipate, contract package 2 is currently going over to municipal affairs for their final review before we can tender it. We may have had as many as 3 or 4 packages. And yes, a lot of this work will get carried over to 2012, but we'll secure the money here, and we're very grateful, of course, to the contribution from the provincial government. I just want to outline the scope of what we're doing here. For example, Donovan Street, we're going to be replacing the water line. This is becoming more and more of an issue. The water pressure is quite low for many of the residents on Donovan Street. This has been a known problem for the last couple of years. That line, I guess you could say, the water line is prematurely failing, and we need to get that fixed this year where possible. So this tender will, when it closes tomorrow, will allow that work to get started. Farrell Drive, we're going to be doing a storm line replacement. Woodford Place, we're going to be removing the bulb of the cul-de-sac. Councillor Tessier would be very happy to know.
That was going to be my question.
And finally, Keogh Crescent will be doing a surface upgrade. So next public council meeting, we should be bringing the award in here if everything is fine with that.
All right, thank
That's
you.
all I have, Your
Thank you
Worship.
for that. Do you now still have a question?
I know, I just want to speak to it. The residents of Woodford Place 2 years ago when I was campaigning there showed great disdain for that little grass I don't know, I don't even know what we would call
Open
it.
space.
Yeah, it's like an open space in the middle of their cul-de-sac. It's quite large. And they particularly didn't like it, and I hope that they'll be very thrilled now, and I'm really pleased that engineering took that recommendation as well. So I hope that they'll be pleased to see it gone, because it was something to maintain. We had to send somebody in to cut the grass. I mean, it just wasn't adding, I don't think, any value to
Tell you
that.
what, we'll let you go up there and you can stand there and say, I did this.
No, I
thing."
won't say
What do
that.
You can do
I
that.
absolutely will not say that, because nothing gets done here by one person. This is all collective efforts, especially by our staff. But anyway, I just wanted to commend engineering for following through with that, because I think the residents will be very pleased.
I have no doubt that they will. Absolutely, for sure. Thank you for that. Next committee report, Planning and Land Use. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Your Worship. The first item here has to do with the Mount Pearl Development Regulations Amendment number 212, 2011, and this deals with indoor parking standards. The city received a request from Kerwood Contracting Limited for the city to look at our parking standards for indoor facilities such as condominiums, because we currently use the same outside standards as inside standards. So that's basically where this stemmed from. And get down through this here. Oh yes, so our staff undertook a survey, and we looked at municipalities across the country, right out from, I think, as far as Stephen, Victoria eastward.
And the states.
And the states as well, to sort of have a look at what they were doing with these standards. And it turns out that, well, the standards were even smaller than the ones that we're proposing here. Basically, Kerwood Contracting Limited said that, they questioned why we were using the outdoor standards for indoor, because the same environmental conditions didn't apply, in particular with respect to snow-related issues. So they asked if we would consider reducing our parking standards for indoor facilities, again, such as condominiums, because, again, for an economic cost, it would decrease the footprint of the buildings. It would require less land, that they were developing more land for open space and that. So again, our staff undertook this survey and came back. The recommendations for the reduced standards are included in the kit there. And, they are slightly smaller than our outdoor standards. And again, the Planning and Development Department felt okay with this, and we at the Planning and Development Land Use Committee level, we also didn't see any particular problem with this. So as such, the recommendation is that we recommend that the Mount Pearl Development Regulations Amendment, again number 212, 2011, dealing with the indoor parking standards amendment, be adopted as outlined here, and I so move.
It is moved and seconded by Councillor Aker. Any question or comment? Hearing none, we'll call it. All those in favor?
Aye.
Contrary-minded, motion carried.
And the next item here, Your Worship, I'll speak to it very briefly because we dealt with it earlier in the meeting. The Waterford River cleanup, the Conservation Corps and the Green Team report. Essentially what's attached here, as you outlined, is the events, the program of our Green Team that we had for 7 weeks for July and August. They undertook cleanup along the Waterford River. And as you said, they picked up garbage, but they identified areas where there were larger items that we picked up at a later date. They were also involved with environmental awareness events, again, to try to draw public attention to this river. As you so eloquently stated, I mean, we got this beautiful river running through the center of our city here, and a lot of people don't realize that there's a lot of garbage along that waterway. So what's attached here, Your Worship, is the report of the Green Team, with some, again, with the outline of their program, but with some recommendations as well. And just to highlight a couple here that I found interesting. One thing they recommended, again, and we're not suggesting we can do this, we could certainly look into it, was they would have liked to have been able to go in the river, because this year they were just along the banks of the river. And what they found was that there were areas of the river that they couldn't get access to pick up garbage, but if they could have traversed the river, it would have allowed them to do a better cleanup. So that's one thing they suggested that we might want to look into. The other thing as well that I found interesting, they suggested with these community blitzes and the business blitz that we undertook, if we did it earlier in the season, before the vegetation sort of developed its foliage and was thicker, then you could more readily identify and access.
Yeah, that's really a good idea.
That was a good idea.
Yeah.
And
Get
also
earlier.
they indicated if we did that as well from the community perspective, that a lot of the people aren't yet on summer vacation, so that a lot of our business partners may be better able to donate some staff to come out and actually participate in that. So this is just for information purposes for council. The Green Team summary report there is attached with the recommendations, so I just brought this forth for the information of council.
That's very good. Thank you.
The next two items, Your Worships, are actually notices of motion. In accordance with Section 39 of the City of Mount Pearl Act 1988, take notice that in accordance with Council's public notification policy, I will, at a regular meeting of Council, move an amendment to the text of the Mount Pearl Development Regulations 1988 that, if enacted, will, in Schedule C, amend the conditions section of the residential use zones as follows. Add to the section titled patio, deck, balcony, and veranda the following. Where a lot is located adjacent to an open space owned by the authority on a flanking street, the authority may permit, at its discretion, the erection of a patio, deck, balcony, and/or veranda in the minor side yard that borders onto the flanking street open space area, provided such structures do not interfere with the authority's use of the open space area and municipal operations. Dated today, of course. And the next notice of motion, again, if enacted, will amend the land use zoning map of the Mount Pearl Development Regulations by rezoning land east of Michener Avenue between Ruth Avenue and Donovan Street from recreational open space to residential medium density. The intention of this amendment is to incorporate all of the residential properties east of Michener Avenue between Ruth Avenue and Donovan Street into one use zone, and that would be the residential medium density zone. Those lands not being rezoned shall maintain their present zoning. Again, dated today. The next item, Your Worship, is the development permit list for September 6th to September 16th, 2011. And we have 6 permits there, and I move that they be accepted as presented.
It is moved, seconded. Question or comment? I see development permit number 51, the gymnastics building.
Very exciting.
This project is moving rather swiftly, isn't it? That's rather very good. This is Capia Gymnastics building their new facility, and they're really they're full steam ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. Good stuff.
That is wonderful. Okay, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Contrary-minded? Motion carried.
Next on, Your Worship, is the building permit list for September 3rd to September 16th, 2011. Residential building construction during this time period totaled $228,500. Commercial building construction during the same time period came in at $105,000, bringing the total for this period to $335,500, and I move that this amount be accepted as presented.
Moved, seconded. All in favor? Contrary-minded? Motion is carried.
And that's it for planning, Your Worship.
There is one item, Affordable Seniors Housing Committee report, and I'm assuming that's you as well.
Right. Stay on my feet for this.
Yep.
This item, Your Worship, stems from the last meeting that we had with the ASH Committee, or the Affordable Seniors Housing Committee. We met on September the 1st, Councillor Aker and I, with 2 community representatives, Jim Greenland and Shirley Boone. And the purpose of this meeting was to review the submissions for the expression of interest. As we said in the chambers earlier, and during the last election campaign, many of us, when we were talking to our residents, we identified the issue of affordable seniors housing and the need for more units in the city. So this all stems from that. So we put out a notice in the Telegram, and we were looking for expressions of interest from developers who might be interested in developing affordable senior housing units on Municipal Avenue, city-owned Municipal Avenue, 33 to 39 Municipal Avenue. So we have land down there. So the deadline was August 31st at 12 noon for the submissions. The committee was delighted. We received 5 submissions from the 5 developers there, and we were very impressed with the quality of the proposals that were received. In reviewing the proposals, the committee identified one developer to proceed with this, and we could address this here now because I've received some emails and calls on this, wondering what the status of this particular project is. But it's sort of 2-part. This is the first part where we identify a developer, and the developer would then apply to the Newfoundland Labrador Housing affordable housing program.
Wasn't the final date for that today?
The 21st.
The
It's
21st. Tomorrow is
Right.
the final date.
So it was a pretty quick turnaround. So we got the submissions the 31st of August. We met on the 1st of September. We're recommending, as it's outlined here, that we go ahead with Carwood Construction Limited as the developer based on the proposals that were submitted. Now, we're recommending that they be the developer to go forward. So they have to go now to the Newfoundland Labrador Housing Corporation and make application under their affordable housing program. If they're successful under this affordable housing program from Newfoundland Labrador Housing, we would then meet with the developer to discuss the further details of this particular development project here.
We are making progress.
We're
That's the
making
main-
progress, but again, given the fact that we got a wider audience here tonight, just to let people know that, you know, this is just the first step of the next step
Yes.
before we can actually determine, for
Lot of hoops,
example,
yeah.
yes, you know, how many units we can have and all this sort of stuff. Because again, there's been people contacting, concerned about, is there going to be a 3-story building, a 2-story building, and so on and so forth. So just to inform the public that, as you said, the process is moving forward, but there are still some other stages that we have to go through before we get to the final stage of actually starting to build these.
Thank
So as such, the Affordable Seniors Housing Committee, the recommendation come forth, as I said, is that Carwood Contracting Limited be named the successful firm to submit a proposal now to Newfoundland Labrador Housing to develop the municipal property at 33 to 39 Municipal Avenue, pursuant to Newfoundland Labrador Housing private sector affordable housing program. If Carwood is successful again, then the city will enter into detailed negotiations with Carwood Contracting Limited regarding the development of this property, and I so move.
Your worship?
Moved. We have a seconder on that.
I second it.
It's seconded by Councillor Aker. All right, you have a comment? Councillor Aker?
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. You know, I think this is a wonderful project, and I agree with the Deputy Mayor. I think we're only part way there, but I'm proud of the City of Mount Pearl, the staff and council, for taking this on, because it was something we've talked about for a long time. I think our seniors have been asking for it in their own way over the last few years, and by having Shirley and Jim involved in the committee, I think the input from them was very, very valuable.
Indeed.
You know, we're hoping at the end of the day that the city will create at least 10 affordable housing units, which basically increases the supply in the whole region, and perhaps the property can also contain some more units than that, which might be market housing. So even though we're not there yet, I think we've made great progress on this. It's been challenging. Affordable housing is very difficult to develop in the metro area. The cost of land, the cost of construction is so high. And I think really the city providing a piece of land has gone a long way to make that happen here in the city of Mount Pearl. So I just want to make that comment. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anybody else with a comment? If not, we'll call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded, the motion is carried.
That's it for me.
That concludes committee reports. Thank you, Deputy Mayor. We move on to new business. Last public council meeting, we started on my left, so this one we start on our right. Councillor Aker, any new business for council to consider today?
Yes, Your Worship, thank you. A few items. Received an email the other day, I think myself and Councillor Walsh, from a resident on Brodie Street, which is part of the Mount Carson Terrace subdivision. Looks like everything's ready to do the final coat of asphalt, but of course the manhole covers have all been raised, and basically the resident is wondering when that's all going to be completed. And I was up there today. It looks like it's ready to go. I'm wondering, is there any deficiencies perhaps
Mr. Lush,
the developer
maybe
has to?
Mr. Lush, can you answer that? When would the second coat of asphalt for Brodie be happening?
There's a couple deficiencies that I'm sure will be worked out shortly, but it would be in place by October 15th. That is the last day, but
All
there's
right,
a
so
couple
it is being done this fall. Yeah,
it's on schedule to be done, yes.
excellent.
Okay, that's perfect. Thank you very much. I want to make comment about the Association for the Arts in Mount Pearl. Last week they had their Art Fusion and their Arts Week, and I know I went to the murder mystery Sunday night, and it was very well organized by Christine Henneberry and her volunteers. So I just want to throw out a
Did you
kudos
figure
to
it
them.
out? Did you figure it out?
No, but you know who the murderer was?
Well, don't
The
tell.
character. No, you may not go to the exact same one. The character played by Christine was the one that did it. She said, "I did it." At the end of the day, she also wrote the play and the murder mystery, so it was quite
Nobody
good.
figured it
So
out?
I'd encourage. Oh yeah, no, there was two other people figured it out, and they won the T-shirt.
Oh,
I
okay.
didn't get the T-shirt, unfortunately.
You've been there, done
I
that,
got
but
the
you
bill.
don't get the t-shirt.
But it was a really great night, I must say. I got to give
Detective
credit.
Colombo, he is not.
I said he was been there, done that, but he didn't get
Didn't get the T-shirt.
Didn't
yeah.
get the T-shirt, exactly, right, you know. The other thing, I received last week a comment from a senior citizen who attends Park Place, goes to the weekly game of cards on Wednesday.
Mhm.
And I think the program that's being offered down there is very, very successful. The place is blocked. And I'm not trying to insinuate now there's any fire regulations of that being broken, but I wonder, are we running out of space down at Park Place for that program? And I'd like to refer that to the Department of Community Services just to look into it. Maybe
That's
we're-
the first I've heard that there's any
Yeah.
kind of a problem.
Well, this senior
Great
asked me
problem.
to bring it up because it's a great problem to have. But maybe we
I've not
also
heard
need
it.
to be looking down the road to see exactly, where that program is held or how it's held, because I think it's a great problem, like you say, but it's also an issue when there's too much congestion down there too, right?
Mhm.
So I thought I'd bring that to the attention. Maybe it could be looked at by the Community Services Committee on a proactive basis in terms of planning down the road for the growth in the program.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We attended the skate park opening last week. Councillor Walsh was the MC. Did a great job, and there was a great crowd there. And despite a power outage, we got through it all. And I want to say thank you to the people with the DARE program, and the Mount Pearl Crime Prevention Committee, as well as the Brain Injury Association for coming along. I noticed that not one councillor decided to get on a bike or a skateboard or a scooter. Not one of us tried it, and I'm just as guilty as the rest of them. But I want to just protect my butt, I guess, throughout the whole thing, right? You know. Last thing, Your Worship. 2 Fridays ago, I, along with the CAO, went for a ride from about 7:30 until about 11:30 with the Mount Pearl Police. This is the first Friday after school, and basically, there's always rumors about all the activity that happens on the trails or behind the scenes, but I've got to say, first I want to say thank you to Superintendent Tilley for arranging that, and also for the constable that took us around. But we didn't see too much, and we thoroughly canvassed the city the whole night that we were out. We went on the streets, we went on the trails, and I think the worst thing we saw was, unfortunately, a young girl broke her wrist. And I think partly through the actions of our park patrol, as well as the actions of our municipal police force, that's why maybe the trails are a lot safer than we think that they are. Right? So I just want to throw congratulations out for the hard work that the municipal enforcement officers do. And that's it, Your Worship. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Walsh.
Thank you. Councillor Aker, on some of the spatial challenges, I guess, at Park Place. I think we're all aware as members of council and senior staff that this is a little bit like putting the pieces of a puzzle together. We've got a number of things on the planning docket in terms of some facilities and redevelopment of facilities and community services, and one very directly impacts the other. In the meantime, I think we're well within regulations in terms of fire and life safety, those kinds of things. But we definitely do have challenges, especially when there are special events, when you have dinners and functions, when people of the age of some of the members of the Seniors Independence Group, not all of them, most of them, in fact, can get up and down stairs quicker than I can. But there are some who have challenges, and of course, there are some definite things that we need to consider with the layout and structure of the building, the stairs, and those kinds of things. But we certainly are aware of it. We're working on it, and as I said, we're hoping that as we move through some of the things in the Recreation Master Plan, that these things will automatically fall in place, and we'll have some other facilities and new locations and expanded space that we can utilize for the benefit of these people. A couple of things. Councillor Aker referenced a couple of them, as he always does, but I thank him for that. The opening of the skate park. Yeah. He's definitely going to be taking over community services. I do want to thank a few people related to the opening of the skate park, and I do appreciate your comments in terms of how well it went. If there's anything that we can say with definitivity, it is that park is really, really well utilized, and it is a beautiful facility. The focus for the night was really clearly on the young people. So we had people like Sean Hines, the DJ, BMX, skate and bike, did a demonstration, which I think was very well received. We had a demonstration by Street Movement. They were a breakdancing group, and they were they were excellent. I also want to acknowledge and thank the Brain Injury Association for their continued support, provision of helmets for people who don't have them on site, that's a great addition, and just raising awareness generally of the importance of wearing the safety helmets on these sites. Seems like the younger kids want to wear them and will comply. The older kids, for whatever reasons, I guess it's the level of proficiency with the bikes or the skateboards, I'm not sure, or maybe it's a little bravado, but really, they call them accidents for a reason. They can happen, and it doesn't exclude people who are 18 or 20 or 25. So please use the helmets. The Brain Injury Association were there on site providing helmets, and it was great to see them. Finally, I want to thank our own municipal enforcement, the Crime Prevention Unit, Crime Stoppers in the city of Mount Pearl, and we even had some representation from our Youth Opportunity Fund, and they were there as well. I think Barb Predham represented that group. But finally, and I think this is an important final note, the initiative that we named Friends of the Park is really designed to ensure that the people who use this facility take ownership for it. In other words, they clean it up, they talk to each other about the importance of taking care of it, not vandalizing, not destroying it, and if they do that, I think they'll be able to be the recipients, as they were in this case, of first-class facilities. Part of the added value of doing the Friends of the Park initiative was that throughout every course of the development of this particular skate park, the young people themselves were involved. Through the webinars, we had young people sitting in the room working with the people from the National Skateboard Park Company who was working with us on this, facilitating the development of the site. So it was fabulous to see that. So I'm glad it went well. I think it's very well, it's a well-planned facility, and I think it's in large part due to the input that the young people themselves had into it. You mentioned Art Fusion. It's really an event that highlights a whole week of activities: music theater, musical theater, the visual arts, sculptures, pottery, comedy, like you say, murder mysteries. The list goes on, and they, kudos to Christine and her group. They really put on a great program.
They really do,
and they do a lot of work. And I know for Christine now, as a mother of 2 young boys, it's even more challenging. But they do a splendid job, and I just wanted to extend kudos to them as well. The final thing that I want to mention, Your Worship, we have just one final bulk garbage collection left, and this is the time to clean out the house, the shed, the garage, the basement, whatever needs to be done. And if you can do that, it would be much. Did I take yours? They're very good. Well, we're even in the square.
I just want to make a point. This is the pot calling the kettle black.
It is. In that case, it is, and I do apologize. But this is important for 2 things that I want to remind people of. Number 1, get the bulk out early. Get it out on Sunday for Monday if you can. Secondly, almost always, and we've all had a couple of calls about this, almost always the bulk garbage is taken and the metals are left. And a lot of people think, oh, they're not going to take the metal, or it doesn't comply, or they whatever. Sometimes they actually take it back in, and only to find out that, of course, the metals are taken separately, and they usually come along and collect those after the fact. So just a reminder that it is upcoming. Check the website for the schedule. They've also been delivered to various homes throughout Mount Pearl. And I do apologize, Councillor Tessier, if I stole your thunder. But yeah, it is a little of the pot calling the kettle black. Thank you very much, Your Worship.
Thank you, Councillor Stoyles.
I have a couple of things, Your Worship.
Are you a pot or a kettle?
I'm neither.
Carry on. Carry on.
I don't think I'm stealing anybody's thunder.
That was the question. You got that right.
On that, one thing actually I mentioned at our last public meeting was the Church of the Good Shepherd, and I've attended a number of times their luncheon. It's the only free lunch in the city, and it's held every Wednesday at noon at the Church of the Good Shepherd. But and it is a free lunch, but they are doing fundraiser, and it's coming up on I think it's October the 1st, and it's at the Reed Centre, and it's a dinner theatre comedy type thing, and it's $50 a ticket. And they had sent out an email asking us if we would be interested in attending, and of course to pass it on to the rest of the community. And of course I wanted to mention the luncheon again, because it is something that it doesn't matter which religion you are, you're welcome to come in any day and have a free free lunch, and it's every Wednesday, and they serve everything under the sun, and I must say it is a great lunch. And the last thing I want to mention is the Northeast Avalon Joint Council. They're getting on the go again, and the first meeting is tomorrow night, and it's going to be in Collier's tomorrow night, and this is all the councils in the region getting together and talk about regional issues. One of the issues, of course, is going to be waste management again, which is always on the table at these tables, and car wrecks and a lot of other interesting topics. And if any community has a topic they want to bring to put in the pile, they're more than welcome to come along and bring it. And it's always an interesting evening. I've been going to it actually just about ever since I've been on council, and I enjoy going, to the regional meetings, knowing what's on the go. And I'm going this time as the rep for M&L. So right now I know Councillor Lane is away, and he's being the rep for Mount Pearl, and he's taking a leave of absence. I'm just wondering if anybody else on council would like to come along tomorrow night, and because I don't get to attend every meeting because I'm usually at meetings on the whole of the Avalon, but I just wanted to put it out for anybody tomorrow night if they would like to come at 7:30 at the Town Hall in Colliers. That's it, Your Worship.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor.
Oh, you're going to say Councillor Tessier for last. I'll try not to take anything from you. Several things have been said already. The skate park opening was fantastic. Question to Mr. Lush regarding the intersection of Old Placentia and Smallwood. Are we going to have that finished soon? And if so, define soon.
2 weeks.
2 weeks. Perfect. All right, I can tell the folks that have been asking. So that was the last time. Also, as we said, Councillor Lane is not here, and of course the writ was dropped yesterday. And I just wanted to take the opportunity to acknowledge and express sincere thanks to Dave Denine, who, as we know, is stepped down. And Dave has been, he was a teacher in Mount Pearl for I don't know how many years. I think at St. Peter's and then at O'Donnell. He was heavily involved with Mount Pearl Minor Hockey. He was on the executive. He was Santa Claus at the novice skating for I don't know how many years. He was involved with the novice skating and the novice initiation program. And then, of course, he got on council. He was deputy mayor. He was mayor. And then he went on to represent the city as our member for 2 terms. So I just want to thank Dave on behalf of, again, myself, my family, and the residents of Mount Pearl, and just to make the comment that Mount Pearl is a much better place because of the efforts of Dave Denine. So I just wanted to take this opportunity to extend thanks to Dave, congratulations, and I wish him well in his retirement. That's it. Thank you, Your Worship.
Councillor Tessier.
Going to touch on a couple of things that were mentioned. The Seniors Independence, when Councillor Aker brought it up about their numbers, I happened to be there this week past for their first session back on another matter, and they actually have a lot of new members. They're not exceeding the fire code numbers. They're fully aware of that. But they have a lot of new members, which is really exciting to see. I'm not sure, but they had more than 11 new members come in on Wednesday past.
That's
and they
pretty
had a
good.
great, and they had a great turnout from all of their existing members as well. So that's probably, it's a good complaint that they're growing, actually. So I'm sure the community services will do a great job when they go back and come up with some recommendations for their growing needs. Also, when we were talking earlier at the beginning of the meeting, they were talking about that speed sign that I had brought up.
Yes.
Last public meeting. I think I made it sound a little more complicated than it is, because when I reflected on it, I remembered specifically what the sign looked like. It was solar powered, but it doesn't need to be as complicated as I probably initially stated to meet our needs. What it was powered for, there wasn't an actual sign that flashed digital messages. There were hard signs. One was huge, and it read a speed limit, like say it's 20 kilometers an hour, for example. And the other hard sign said, when lights are flashing, the speed limit is, and it's 20. And the only thing that's powered then are the lights. So it doesn't probably have to be as complicated as I first probably made it
Worth
sound.
exploring. I look forward to the
Yeah.
committee coming back with something on it.
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to see something like that implemented. I think it'd be wonderful. I had a call from a parent of a young person, a young adult, who is a Visions employee. And while it doesn't fall under the purview of the municipality, I did want to take advantage of having the cameras here and the public council as well to encourage any business that may have some employment needs to consider a Visions employee, because they come with a job coach. The job coach is paid by Visions employment. We have a lot of businesses in Mount Pearl that currently employ a lot of Vision's employees quite successfully, and for many years. I know that many of us look forward to seeing some of those familiar faces when we visit certain businesses in Mount Pearl. So I'd like to encourage anybody, any business, to consider hiring a Vision's employee, because there is a real need for job placement. There's a very, very desperate need for job placement, and I'll tell you, we see many of the same employees, and they're wonderful additions to many businesses and extremely capable individuals. And I think it's a shame that there is such a need there for that. And also, bulk garbage, Councillor Walsh, you indicated that it's coming up. It's actually already on the go. So people should check their schedules. They should check the schedule on the website or call the depot to make sure that their bulk garbage collection time has not already gone by before they go through any effort of taking out or cleaning out their sheds or their basements. And again, then that's it then until next spring. So that's it for me.
Thank you very much. That pretty well concludes everything. Entertain a motion to adjourn. Moved by Councillor